And then I walk out of that class and see my phone absolutely blew up in that like 30-minute or 30 minutes to an hour period, whatever, however long that was. And then it got so big, Ian Rappaport retweeted it, gave me credit on NFL Network, and quote tweeted my tweet. Pat McAfee mentioned it multiple times. So
Well, and then he even brought you up to Rogers as well, right?
yeah,
Like during one of the
yeah,
Tuesdays, he was just like, "Hey, what's going on with this?"
yeah.
Welcome to Tales from the Tundra, a show that captures one team's history told through the eyes of the fan. My name is Ben, and on today's episode, we are sitting down with the one and only Big B. Big B is a legend online and a big Packers fan who has quite the story to tell. During this conversation, we talk about many things, including how he got on the Packers' bad side, how he became a Packers fan despite not living in Wisconsin, his Packers collection, and so much more. This is a story that I was so excited to capture, and I can't wait for you guys to hear it. This is Tales from the Tundra, Episode 5 with Big B. Despite never living in Wisconsin, Big B grew up a diehard Packers fan. Along with that, he's actually a diehard fan of all things Wisconsin. So how does that happen to someone who's never lived in Wisconsin? Here's Big B.
Where I'm at, it's about like 3 hours away. So it's a lot closer than Detroit, a lot closer than any other professional football team.
Yep.
So that's a good start there. And then also my entire family is Packer fans, of course. My grandpa has season tickets. So that was a massive help there. And then, always as a kid, we always used to just go down to Green Bay for a vacation and just, do certain stuff. And I remember I went to a Wiggles concert at the Resch Center a long time ago, which
if that doesn't make you a
really
Packers
remember.
fan, nothing will, man.
Exactly.
The Wiggles at the Resch.
I know, electric. But yeah, that's how I became a Packer fan. Just born and raised into it, and didn't really have a choice at the end of the day.
Okay. I'm not gonna dox you too much, but how close are you to Nagani?
Nagani, about I think like 10 minutes.
Okay, because my good friend is from Nagani, and we've been up there a couple times, and it's a nice, beautiful area up there. Mm-hmm. And anyone watching this, Big B was generous enough to do this episode a second time. We had some audio issues last time, so we're gonna try to like mix things up so it's not super repetitive for him here. But the UP is, from my times being there, it is a lot of Packers. It's like a lot of Packers fans. Mm-hmm. Now, this last season, like we talked about last time, there's a lot of Lions fans coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah, all of a sudden, I don't know where they came from, but all of a sudden we got Lions fans everywhere rocking brand new merch that they probably
Tags
just got offline. Tags still on them. But yeah, before like they're like upbringing, into the winning culture, like there was like nobody like rocking Lion stuff, and now it's literally all over the place, especially during the season. It's absolutely wild to watch because I'm not used to that. It's usually all Packer stuff.
Why do you think that is, that they all of a sudden, I mean, I guess everyone likes to support a winning team, but do you think they're genuine Lions fans, or do you think it's, hey, we're in Michigan and Detroit's finally winning, so maybe we need to have a little bit of pride about it? Is that what you think it is? Or there can't just be that many bandwagon fans up there, but maybe there is.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Maybe it's probably because, they're winning now. So let's, show people like we're fans, sure. We always been fans, I think it's more of that than anything. But yeah, I'm just assuming that's what it is, really.
And when we talked last time, it was right after the wild card games. The divisional round hadn't happened yet. And you and I had talked a bit about, if Detroit ended up winning it all, like what would that be? So let me ask you, watching that divisional game, how was your reaction to that? Because you just watched them get pummeled.
Yeah, so let me start with, I was super excited to go into work that next day. I was looking forward to it because I had stuff in my back pocket ready to come out when the Lions lost. And
like to coworkers or customers or all of the above?
All of the above, but especially one of my coworkers. I love him so much. He is amazing, but I just, we always talk shit about, Packers, Lions. So I went in on him a bit. I was kind of nice about it because I like knew how it is to lose with
Mm-hmm.
super high expectations. But yeah, I definitely slowly got worse as the week progressed in that nature. But it was super satisfying. Every time when my most hated team loses, it's always super satisfying. Especially now Detroit being my most hated team, passing
Yeah.
Minnesota, which I didn't think was
Okay.
possible, but they did it. Let me tell you, they did it very fast. Um, yeah, it was fantastic. It was a cherry on top of the season, like you said. Couldn't have been a better end to Detroit's season.
As Packers fans, we've experienced that
Hmm.
feeling numerous times. You were
Yep.
probably a little too young yet in 2011 to experience the pain on that one, but
Yep.
2014 you got to experience the pain of that one, 2020, 2021. So we've been there and experienced that pain plenty of times. So it's always fun
Yep.
when someone else gets to experience that. You
Oh,
you
yeah.
mentioned that Minnesota used to be your most hated. Why Minnesota?
I
You're
don't know.
pretty far away from
I
Minnesota.
know. I think it was just because like their fans mostly, and like I hate the horn. First off, their
That's fair.
fans are super cocky. They were super cocky. They've kind of simmered down now, and we Vikings fans, Packer fans actually bonded over hating the Lions this past season, which it kind of warmed my heart. Like I gained a little respect for that fan base, not much, but just a little bit. Um, but yeah, it was mostly the cockiness of like the team and the fan base, and I just couldn't stand them for the
Uh,
longest time. But
That's
now
fair.
Detroit kind of really outran them in all those categories.
I can definitely relate to that because I grew up closer to the Minnesota border, and
Mhm.
so when you're around the opposing fans like that, there's nothing that makes you hate a franchise more than dealing with the fans around you,
Mhm.
especially
Yep.
when you're surrounded by it. So I definitely understand that, but I think there is something beautiful about that rivalry being ignited.
Yep.
For the longest time, the Lions were like the lovable Lions, and you're just like, oh, oh man, they beat us. Good, good job, Lions. Good job. And
Yep.
now there's a little bit more substance to that. So I think that's good for the NFC North. I'm
Yeah.
curious how
Sure.
long they're going to sustain it, but I think it's good for the NFC North. And hopefully we can get their number next year
Hmm.
and hopefully embarrass them. Um, kind of going off of that, this week some news dropped about the Packers canceling season tickets for people who are
Yes.
selling 100% of their season tickets. The gold package has a lot of issues with that, and the Lions fans scooped up a ton of them the last couple of years.
Hmm.
What was your thought? I mean, you're not exactly a season ticket holder, but your
Hmm.
grandpa has season tickets.
Yeah.
What was your thought when you heard that news that they're going to start revoking some tickets?
Yeah. I was super happy they finally did that, or starting to do it. I always say like I think it's an honor to have season tickets, and I think you should go to as many games as you possibly can
Mm-hmm.
because you should be honored to have them. Like not there's so many people like on the list waiting for their opportunity to get tickets, and you
Myself
having
included.
them
Yeah.
and you having them should like mean something to you. And I am so grateful that I have an opportunity to have a connection to season tickets and go to like 4 Packer games a year. Like I'm just, it should be an honor to have them, and I feel like people are just taking advantage of it. So I'm glad they're finally cutting down on the people who have sold majority of them
Mm-hmm.
like for the past multiple years.
Yeah, you're obviously not going to be able to make it to every single game every
Yeah,
single
of
time,
course.
but I think there's better ways to go about selling them too than
Hmm.
just doing StubHub or Ticketmaster and trying to
Yeah.
find Packer fans and that type of thing. I calculated last year based off the progress I've made on 2 tickets. It's going to take if you were to sign up today, it would take like 190 years to get tickets.
Yeah.
So that's based off the progress I've made with the expansion in the end zone. So I don't think we're getting that. I don't think we're going to be getting many more expansions. Maybe we will. So
Yeah.
I do like that they're revoking that. But
Hmm.
you, so you've had the opportunity to go to a lot of games then because season tickets are in your family.
Yep.
Do you remember like what is the first memorable game I guess that you went to as a fan?
Mm.
Like
First
I don't know if there's one that just stands out above the other, because I think when we talked last time, you said your first one was like a preseason game, right? Because you're
Yep.
a younger kid, so you're
Yeah.
kind of going to these games that maybe aren't like the craziest or the most memorable. They're fun as a kid, but there's not like they don't jump out at you. Um, as you kind of reflect back on them. I went to my first game more as an adult, so I remember that, and it was a memorable experience. But if you start going to games as a super young kid, they might kind of all blend together a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the first like actual regular season game I went to was the Chargers game in 20, was it 15? I believe it
Okay,
was.
the throwback
2015.
game.
Yep, throwback game.
Nice.
Demarius Randall's breakup to win
Yes.
the game in the corner of the near the pylon. I remember that play. That's like the only play I remember from that game, and also the big James Starks touchdown run. I remember. So
See, I
those
don't I don't remember the James Starks. I might have to go
really,
back and re. I remember the Demarius Randall, but I don't. For some reason, the James Starks run is I'm drawing a blank on
I
that.
think it was like a 50+ yard run, and he like
I
he like bounced off the line and came around the edge here, and it was like right in front of our right closer to our seats. I guess I could say.
Now that
I
you kind of explained it, I vaguely remember it, but
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch it. But so you remember those two are the
Yep.
big plays that come away from that game. Um, and you had to have been pretty young yet, because
Yeah.
I
I think it
mean,
was
so
10,
because you're how old are you right now? I mean, you
19.
don't have to say if you don't want to.
Well,
You're 19.
19. Yeah.
Okay. So you're 9 at the time.
Yeah. 9, 10, I think.
Yeah. Wow, that's a heck of a first game to go to.
I know.
And then since then, how many do you think you've went to since 2015? How many would you estimate that you've been to?
Yeah. Well, I have my playlist pulled up so I can, actually remember some of the games I'll probably forget off the top of my head. But 24, including the preseason game.
Okay, do you write down every single game you go to?
Well, see, I have a playlist on YouTube here with all the highlights of the games
That's
because,
awesome.
you never know. And
Dude,
I actually found the preseason highlights too. So I have those locked and loaded. Um,
that's a
yeah.
super cool idea as a way to kind of remember all of the,
Mhm.
especially because you can't do ticket stubs anymore. They've taken
Yeah.
those away. So the ability to have the playlist of games you've been to is that's a super cool idea. I
Yeah.
think
So,
anyone going to their first game should steal that and do that as well, because time goes by quick, and as you go to more and more games, you completely forget which ones you've been to and which ones you
yeah.
just watched or what have you. Um,
Yeah, and
now,
I also collect programs for every game too. So I have all 24 programs for the games I went to, and
wow,
I had to buy the Packers Chargers 2015 game off of eBay. I finally found it after a couple years of searching for it. That was the one program I didn't get my hands on in the moment. So
sure. And I'm sure it's tough because it's not like it's a memorable game in the sense of people wouldn't be buying programs with the idea of selling them down the way. They're
yeah,
just it's just another, I mean, it's an AFC team. There wasn't
mhm,
much at stake. They weren't the only thing really maybe that would make someone buy something is because it was a throwback game. I think it was
yeah,
a throwback game if I'm not mistaken,
yep,
but I could be. Um, so I'm glad you got that. But that's pretty impressive to have all 24 programs, just good
yeah,
keepsakes from every single game.
that's pretty cool.
As you reflect on all 24 games, what is your favorite one you've been to?
Hmm. Well, I'll throw out. I think overall experience. Okay, overall experience. Honorable mention. First off, is the Packers Seahawks playoff game in 2019. First playoff game, first and only playoff game I've been to. Electric atmosphere. It was absolutely incredible. And then, of course, after the game, like right as clocks hit zero, it just started snowing, like in like crazy amounts of snow. Like there was a couple feet by the time we got back to the hotel, and it was like
Dang.
big snowflakes too. It was like something out of a movie. It was just incredible.
It's like bucket
Um,
list for most people,
I
snowy
know
Lambeau
it
Field.
was amazing. But I would say my favorite game I've been to is the Packers Cowboys game a couple years ago. Mike McCarthy's return to Lambeau Field, Mason Crosby game winner, Christian Watson's breakout game.
Yeah, that was the one we were supposed to have no chance at winning, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like everyone was just
Yeah,
like, because that was a That was the Rodgers last year, correct? Yeah. Because it was Watson's rookie year.
Yep.
And because I remember I had some friends going to that game, and everyone's just like, "Oh, I just hope we don't get blown out too much, and I hope it's a good game." And then to just rock them. What was that moment like? First off, with Mike McCarthy coming back, what was the crowd's reaction to Mike coming back on the field? Did they acknowledge it at all?
So of course that was actually the Make-A-Wish game. So I was
Okay,
on the sidelines pregame. I don't remember the reaction really, but believe overall it was a lot like mostly like cheers and claps and like showing like appreciation for Mike.
good.
But yeah, during the game, it was a playoff atmosphere for sure. Like it was one of the best atmospheres that wasn't the playoff game that I've been to. And the Make-A-Wish experience on top of that just made it like an all-time weekend.
Yeah. I could fathom that. I don't want to start too many rumors, but I want to say that the Packers maybe played at a next level because
Yeah,
of Big
maybe.
B's Make a Wish. So
Yeah, I mean, it is called the Big B game. Like, I think you can go on Wikipedia and search it up.
I to be honest, with the pull you have on the internet, man, that would not surprise me one bit if that got nicknamed. We have
Maybe,
we have
yeah.
the Ice Bowl, the Snow Bowl, and then
Mhm.
the Big B
Yeah,
Bowl, the Big B game.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
there's legit a shirt for the Big B game. Like, yeah, it exists. There might be like three of them in rotation, but that does exist.
I'm dude, I'm stoked on that. That sounds awesome. So for those that are this is uh for those that are listening to this,
Yes.
you were diagnosed with a form of cancer in
Mhm.
2020.
Yep.
You thankfully everything you took care of it. You kicked cancer's ass, and then as part of that, you got to do a Make a Wish
Mhm.
in 22. I remember what years right there. Yeah,
Yep.
Christian Watson's. Yep. Yeah. So in 22, you got to do a Make a Wish. How did that? How did that process start for you as a like? How do they? Did they just hear about it through the children's hospital and they just reach out and say, "Hey, we want to do this"? Like, how did that process go? Do you remember?
Yeah, so I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, we didn't have like my family or I didn't have to like sign up for anything. Like we didn't have to contact Make-A-Wish. So I'm
Sure.
assuming somewhere in the hospital um contacted Make-A-Wish and they set it up for me. Um and it ended up being Make-A-Wish Wisconsin who took me because there's so many kids already in the Make-A-Wish Michigan or whatever Michigan's called.
It's interesting that they do a state breakdown. I would have thought it was kind of like a national breakdown, but
Yeah, I think every state has like their own like Make-A-Wish
okay,
like branch. I guess it's a branch.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Ben. Sorry to jump in and interrupt, but I wanted to draw a winner for last week's episode. Thank you to all who took the time to enter in the giveaway, and thanks to everyone who's watching. If you haven't done so before, find the link in the comments below or in the show notes that show how to enter the giveaway form. I am going to be sprinkling in somewhere throughout this episode the giveaway term for this week's episode, so keep your ears out for that one. Let's see who won this week. Before we do, I want to say thank you to Nicolay Law for making these giveaways possible all year long. Without them, we would not be able to do that. So thank you, Nicolay Law. So let's draw this week's winner. This feels like a good one right here. Tiffany Tully. All right, Tiffany, let's take a look and see what you won. You picked yourself up that's close, a Paul Kaufman signed 8x10. Thank you once again for entering and watching and all of the support. And thanks again to Nicolay Law for making these giveaways possible. Let's get back to our conversation with Big B.
Yeah, so but yeah, I just remember like my doctor finally like brought it up one day and like you're actually eligible for a Make-A-Wish and yada yada yada. And then it kind of just unraveled from there.
Awesome. So then you get this opportunity to go to Green Bay. You not only get to go to a Packers game, but you get to do a lot of stuff behind the scenes. I think you mentioned like a special tour, like a kind of more intimate tour.
Yes.
And then you got an opportunity to kind of bump elbows with some players and get an opportunity to meet some of those. During that visit, who are some of the players that you really got an opportunity to kind of hang out with and talk with?
Yeah, so real quick, I met Devondre Campbell. That was my first time meeting Devondre. He was super nice.
That's good.
He was actually interested in meeting us, I guess, even though he
Okay.
just probably wanted to get food and get out of there. But I bombarded him like an asshole. But
No, dude,
Devondre's
it's your day. Like if anything, everyone there should just be like super stoked that you're there.
yeah,
So I don't think they thought twice about it. I'm sure they're just stoked that you're there.
yeah, probably. Mason Crosby, we hung out with Mason Crosby, I think, the most out of any player there. He actually got an award when we were there from Make-A-Wish, Wisconsin, which was super cool to be there and, be sitting right next to him as he was receiving the award. So that was awesome. And, he talked with us for a little while and he was, fantastic. And then Randall Cobb, got to talk with him for a bit. He was literally the nicest Packer I've ever met. Like he is an incredible human being. He was literally so excited just and be there and just like hanging out and like we'll probably talk about this a little later, but he saw the picture I was getting signed by Rogers. He started laughing. Like he thought it was fantastic. And yeah, so Randall is definitely up there for the nicest Packer I met. And I love him so much anyway, but that just makes me love him even more.
I've never had a bad experience with Randall, and I think I've
Yeah.
met him a handful of times. He's always been super courteous to people and just super friendly. Definitely a fan favorite for a reason. So
For sure.
you got to go break down a huddle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did they prep you on like how to break it down, or that you're going to be breaking it down, or do they just say, "Hey, do this and break it down"? How is that process? Because I feel like if I were in that situation and they're like break down the huddle, I'd be like, dude, I have no idea what the hell I'm supposed to be doing here.
Yeah, so the people or the Make-A-Wish people who were with us, and I think the lady who like works with the Packers and Make-A-Wish were there. They kind of told us like, so you're gonna actually have the opportunity to like break down the huddle and go in there, and like Matt will ask you like, who's your favorite Packer and yada yada yada, and like introduce you to the team and whatnot. I think that's about it. And then Matt, I think it was Matt just kind of like broke it down and like said everything. Like,
Okay, so they didn't put it on you, like.
Yeah, I don't. If I remember correctly, it wasn't. We didn't have to give like a motivational speech for like 5 minutes to them. So thankfully, I mean, I had stuff prepared, of course.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to use it, unfortunately. But yeah,
I think they looked at you and they just knew, like, hey, we got to bring it. We got to bring it on Sunday for big. It is the Big B game, so.
yeah. I mean, even after the huddle, like I legit told Matt like, let's run the ball more, and he kind of like paused. And said, it was kind of like baffled that I said that to him. But I mean, I did, and guess what? They ran the ball. I think the most that season, or most. They ran the ball that game the most that season, if I remember correctly.
Big B effects, man.
I know.
So they asked you your favorite player. Who did you rattle off when they said that?
Yeah, so I said Rasul Douglas. I love Rasul Douglas, so I said Rasul Douglas. It seemed like everybody was shocked I said Rasul because everybody popped. Everybody cheered when I said that. And Rasul seemed so happy. He came over, dapped me up, and gave me a big old hug. So that was so awesome. I love reminiscing about this. It's like one of my favorite things to do.
Well, obviously it's a not an ideal situation to have because you have to endure hell to get there.
Yeah.
But it's an extremely unique situation to have, and I think it should be one of those things that is fun to talk about because there's not a lot of fun in cancer, and there's not a lot of fun in the process of having cancer. And I've never experienced it, thankfully. But I know people who have, and it's hell. So I think it's good to have that memory coming out of it, so it's not all you think of when you think of cancer is the hell you had to endure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I always say, it was, of course, it was tough. I mean, it's definitely not going to be easy, but I'm definitely grateful it happened because it opened up so many like different avenues for me, and I got to meet so many incredible people, and I got to have this Make-A-Wish. So I think looking back on it, like I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
If I could go back and like change it, I definitely wouldn't, because it led to so many incredible things. I met so many amazing people, met so many incredible doctors, gained so much appreciation for doctors and like what they do. And yeah,
Hmm.
it's
Well, I'm
just
sure
great.
it opens a new kind of insight on life too, or new
Mhm.
perspective on life. Is I can't even fathom what goes through your mind when you get that diagnosis initially.
Yeah.
Uh, as an adult getting it, I would probably think like the worst immediately, and I'm sure as a kid it's even worse because you just don't know. Um, so I'm sure it probably gives you that new appreciation of life too. That every day, like, oh, I'm here, I'm healthy, this is good. So I'm really happy to hear that you got this kind of positive things coming out of it.
Yeah, and I had like such a good attitude throughout the entire thing. Like I was giving like my mom pep talks, saying like you gotta
Yep,
like,
that's huge.
I was giving her pep talks. I was giving everybody, like, I just had a great attitude about it, and I really didn't blink twice. Like I knew I was gonna beat it. Like there was no way I wasn't. I
Yep.
had that like attitude,
Yeah.
and I was like never like sad. I really never complained about it, because like I had to do it if I wanted to get better. Like I didn't
Yep.
have really a choice at the
Yep.
end of the day. So, and I like never complained to the doctors. Like I always let them do. I just kind of like just sat back, let them do what they had to do. And I say I'm probably their easiest patient of the day when they had to wait on me, because you
I
know.
believe it, man.
But yeah,
Dude,
so
that's huge. I mean, as a parent myself, I couldn't imagine my child having to deal with that. So
yeah,
being able to provide that relief to your mom and those pep talks, I'm sure helped tremendously.
I'm
Um,
sure.
so dude, I'm glad to hear everything's on the up and up, and you have these fun experiences, and kind of talking another experience that kind of came out of this. So you get to meet Aaron Rodgers as you're heading out,
Yep.
and you get to hang out with him for a little bit, and it leads to some kind of earth-shattering virality from Big B. What was the story here? What's the situation with this?
Yeah, so of course, we'll go back to the London game versus the Giants. Rodgers got hit on the last play of the game, and his finger was hurting clearly throughout the entire year.
Hmm.
So of course, I come in there and had to start a little fire. But yeah, when Rogers came over initially and introduced himself, and like he walked us over to the huddle, as we talked about. And Rogers was amazing, by the way. We'll start there also. Like he is super nice. He's not like what the media brings him out to be.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, he's incredible also. Like I don't know. It's kind of speechless how nice he was. Like the first thing he asked me was like, "Are you okay? Like how's everything? Like are your numbers good? Like yada yada yada." Like he wanted the first thing he did was make sure I'm okay and doing okay, and wanted to
That's
make
huge.
sure everything was, good with me. But then of course I ask, like, "Oh, how's, kind of threw it out there like, "Oh, how's the thumb doing?" And then he goes, "Yeah, it's broken." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I was like,
Just mention, just writing that down.
yeah, I was like, and then once I got back to my family after all that fun stuff happened, I went to my cousin who was with us, and I said, "It's not out that Rogers broke his thumb, right?" And he's like, "No, I don't think so." And I'm like, "Well, he just told me it was broken, and I'll probably keep that in the back pocket to use later if an opportunity happens."
Yeah.
So fast forward, the Packers played Thursday night versus Tennessee that same week. And the next morning, big discussion on Twitter about Rodgers' health, and is the finger a big issue? So I'm in class, kind of looking on Twitter, kind of secretly scrolling, and I see that's a big discussion there. So I figured that was the best opportunity to throw it out there, and kind of blew up a little bit.
Is so who did you respond to in a tweet, or how did you like did you respond to someone, or did you tweet it out yourself?
I tweeted out myself. I was like, I think it's something along the lines of like, during my Make-A-Wish, like I asked Rogers how his thumb was, and he said it was broken. And then my cousin also said like he was looking at his thumb and he said it was still bruised and a little bit swollen. Like he could tell because he's a physical therapist, so he sees this type of stuff like
Sure.
regularly. So that I included that in the tweet also. So
And then you hit send.
yeah,
You go back to class.
yeah, act like nothing happened. And then I walk out of that class and see my phone absolutely blew up in that like 30-minute or 30 minutes to an hour period, however long that was. And then it got so big, Ian Rappaport retweeted it, gave me credit on NFL Network and quote tweeted my tweet. Pat McAfee mentioned it multiple times. So
well, and then he even brought you up to Rogers as well, right?
yeah,
Like during one of the Tuesdays, he was just like, "Hey, what's going on with this?"
Yeah, that next, I think that following Tuesday is when he brought it up.
And we talked about this last time. I can't imagine Rogers was too mad about it. You and I both agree that we think it was very much I'm going to just sprinkle this information in because he knows the ramifications of the levers he pulls.
Yep.
And I think that's pretty interesting how that all transpired for you. Yeah. But we talked about this a little bit last time too, but I'd imagine the Packers weren't the happiest about it, and we don't have to go into it too much, but I think you had mentioned that there's just some rumblings that they were not the happiest that you leaked that out there like that.
Yeah, I definitely won't. I definitely won't say everything because
I'm not looking to get you in trouble or them in trouble or anything like that.
Yeah, I'll probably wait a few more years before I tell the entire story. But
the book gets dropped.
Yep. But they did call my mom and were very, very upset that I tweeted that out.
Sure. See, and the thing we talked about this a little bit last time too is they should be mad at Rogers, not you. Why is Rogers telling you if, dude, you're a young kid, you're gonna tell like you're a young kid on social media. They had to have been aware that you had social media.
Yeah, I mentioned like I'm good friends with like Wes Hockwitz, Aaron Nagler. Like I've mentioned Nagler a few times, and of course Rogers knows Nagler. Like of course,
yeah.
So,
I mean, they had to have known that you were going to be dropping that information. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you got to be more mad at Rogers and not some kid who just came in from a Make-A-Wish.
I know. I believe during that phone call they said like the conversation with the players should be keeping secret, and I'm like, come on, man. You probably should have told me that, beforehand. I wouldn't have listened anyway, but you probably should have said that beforehand. I'm sure I process moving forward, by the way.
Yeah, they probably
I had to have.
They probably have something now in their writing, or they probably do a briefing. Once again, just Big B making history, dude. Just setting the tone on things going forward.
I know. Got a big B rule with Make-A-Wish. Got my photo in Brian Gutekunst's office, with a clown nose on, like
dude, just the wanted incredible poster.
Yeah, poster. That's exactly what happened, probably.
I feel like there's a lot to talk about, which is great. I'm trying to think which one I want to pursue first.
Okay.
Let's talk about what's kind of new. So this past weekend, you had a boys trip to Indy and you got to go to the combine.
Yeah.
What was that like? First off, how was Indy? How was the stadium? Was that your first time there?
Yeah, so that was my first time in Indiana altogether.
Okay.
So yeah, this was my third NFL stadium I have seen. So it was really cool. I think it would be a cool place to go to an NFL game at. I'm definitely would want to go to a Packers Colts game in the future. So that's probably added onto the bucket list now. Awesome. But Indianapolis was a lot less chaotic, I guess I would put, than I thought it was. It was, I don't know. I kind of got in my head like it's like a bigger Green Bay, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there's not a ton going on in Indiana, so I think that makes sense. It's kind of how Green Bay is.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's kind of that. The combine part, though, definitely something I would only go once to. I mean,
really,
it's something. Yeah, I think I stayed for maybe like I think it was 3 hours, just like a little under 3 hours. It kind of just got boring, and you couldn't
Sure.
really hear anything, and it was so far away. And also another weird part about it was they had like majority of the stadium blocked off, so you couldn't like walk fully around the stadium. It was only like a little section. So
Interesting.
that was really weird because I really wanted to walk around and kind of like explore. And the pro
Yeah,
shop was closed too, which I also thought was weird. So
that is weird.
yeah, I'm not really
Why
confused
would
on that.
you have the pro shop open on a day that's probably bringing in some decent traffic?
Yeah, I don't know. That
Was it just they would randomly announce a name and then you'd see someone run or do their
it
drill and then,
yeah,
or
it
was
was
it not even that?
there was no announcing at all. Like you just had to like watch them like just run and like do the drills.
Interesting that it'd be open to the public then, considering it doesn't really seem like it's a public type of event. Like they
Yeah,
don't bring the public into it at all.
it didn't really feel like I guess we should have been there really. I guess that's the easiest way to put it. Like they could have went without having it open to the public, but I don't know.
Did you have to pay to go to it?
No, it was completely free. You just had to you just had to sign up through the NFL One Pass app, but they didn't
Okay.
even check that entering. So I don't know what the point of that was. So
All right then.
yeah.
I was hoping that the combine was going to be a lot more like exciting of a thing to talk about and like
Yeah, I
say,
mean,
oh, was there anyone that like jumped out at you or anything like that? But it sounds like it's just kind of one of those things that
yeah.
you're just existing in the stadium, the Lucas Oil Stadium, and just kind of chilling.
Yeah, and they kind of had like the NFL broadcast on like the scoreboard or like the
Okay.
TVs in the corner, but there was no volume, so you couldn't hear anything. So and I guess you had to like there's like you go watch it like on your phone or like they had the audio connected through like the One Pass app,
Yep.
but you had headphones to listen
Okay.
to it. But yeah, and then every once in a while, like Cynthia Freeland and that other girl who works for NFL Network would like do something and like talk with like Reggie Wayne.
Okay.
That was like a couple minutes, and then they would not talk for like 20 minutes. But yeah, it's a good thing to experience once, but
Hmm.
I definitely am not gonna go back. Like I'm not gonna
I don't
I'm not
blame
gonna
you.
make a special trip to Indiana just to go to the combine,
I don't blame
basically.
you. Are you planning on coming to the draft here?
Oh yeah, I'll be there. I'm
Hell
planning
yeah.
on going the entire week.
Hell yeah. Well, hopefully I can bump into you there because it'd be good to be able to meet you in person finally.
Heck yeah.
Hey, it's Ben again. Sorry to keep jumping in, but I wanted to give you this week's word of the week for you to enter in the giveaway for this week's episode. If you're new here, if it's your first time listening, check out the show notes or the comments below to find the form on how to enter in the giveaway. You're going to need the Nicolay word of the week, which this week is Hudson. Hudson is the city or the first city that Nicolay Law opened their offices, Hudson, Wisconsin. I'm not going to make spelling be a thing here, but Hudson, do your best on that one. So thank you once again to Nicolay Law for making these giveaways possible. If you are injured, get Nicolay. Let's get back to our episode with Big B. Then the other thing I was gonna talk to you about that we talked about last time that I thought was super interesting, and I feel like we're kind of way out of order on everything, but it's all right. But one thing that when I first started following you, or actually how I first got wind of you, was back in the day on Twitter. You and Joey were doing the Underage Packers podcast, and at
Yep.
that point, you had to be 13 or 14 years old, right around there.
I believe yeah.
And maybe because I think it was like 2020, but maybe it was a little bit
Yeah.
later that I started following you. Either
Yeah.
way, you're 14, 15
Yeah.
years old, and you and Joey decide to start this random podcast, and you guys knocked out a lot of episodes. Was it like a weekly episode, like a weekly podcast you guys were doing?
Yep, it was every week we would get together and talk about sometimes it was twice a week, but it was mostly once a week, and we would talk about the previous game and then preview the upcoming game.
What sparked this idea? Because you guys had met online, right?
Kinda, yes.
Okay, so what sparked this idea of like, hey man, we should just start this podcast together?
Yeah, so it kind of the origins of the Underage Packers podcast started on Instagram. In 2019, we would do like a little like Instagram like live pregame show where we would just hop on for like 20 to 30 minutes and just talk about the game coming up. And then in 2020, when COVID hit, we started it because figured it was something to do when we're all stuck inside, and lasted a couple of years, and it was some of my favorite moments of my life so far was just hanging out talking ball with my best friend.
I thought that was like one of the coolest things is that you guys are so young, so passionate about the Packers, and just loving at every point. And were you like that, like as a kid, kind of growing up, or what kind of? It just blows my mind, dude, to be like 13, 14 years old, just like hammering out Packers stuff like that.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah. So as a kid, as we were just talking, like I was big in the WWE. Like I was how I am, right now with the Packers. I was with the WWE. So Packers took over that.
Okay.
But as a kid, I knew everything about the WWE. Like you could quiz me on anything and I would know it. Like I knew
Do
everything.
you still have that knowledge in the back of your brain somewhere?
Little bit. A lot of it is gone. I should say a majority of it's gone. But I
now
do
it's all Packers.
a little bit. Yeah, the Packers have took over completely everything in my
Right.
life.
It
Like
shows.
literally everything. But yeah, so I was obsessed with WWE, and then roughly around 2014 was when Ha Clinton Dix got drafted, was when I slowly started to get interested in the Packers. Because 2014 was my first game, the preseason game. And then 2015 was like the first year like I actually was interested and like watched every single game.
Sure.
So 2015 was the big turning point where I was like really interested and was starting to learn football. 2016 was when, everything clicked and I just started going ham.
Yeah.
And of course that was a run the table year. So that was even, it really introduced me to what Packer football is, Aaron Rodgers, the greatness of Aaron Rodgers. But anyway, yeah, so that's kind of where it started, I guess.
Gotcha. So, I mean, you kind of did take that love of what you had in the wrestling and how you were. I mean, you're wired as an individual, and then just kind of when you became a Packers fan, just took that and ran with it. I do hope, whether it's with Joey or whatnot, I do hope you started a show again one day. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Whether it's you and Tyler or Caden or someone, I think that'd be awesome to see you jumping on and talking Packers football again, whether on a weekly or whatever, or maybe we just needed to get Matt Ramage to have you jump on his show more often. I know you were rocking the trivia there for a while.
I know. I enjoyed that. I don't know what happened to that. I was looking forward to doing that every week.
Well, you probably dominated. They had to put the big B rule in that too, that they're just like, hey man.
Yeah, Matt had to make me a co-host of that thing. I was kicking so much ass in that.
See, maybe I need to text him after this and say, hey, we need this back. The people are demanding it.
Yeah, but yeah, I would love to get back into it. The last time we talked, like, well, that was the first like podcast thing I've done since me and Joey stopped doing the podcast. So it's been a while since I've done anything like this. But yeah, I would love to get back into it. I think I took a year off, and I think I'm ready to get back into it. I don't know if it's going to be this year or not. I gotta, find somebody to match my freak, I guess I would say, the Packer fandom.
Yeah, I think. Well, and you have such a good following on Twitter too, that I think people would really enjoy tuning in and what you have. Oh, and Instagram too. You have a lot of stuff going on over there, and I think people would really enjoy it. So, dude, I would encourage you immensely to do it. I think you're great at it, and you'd have a lot of fun with it. So I think you should.
Great, but I think I'm okay.
I say great. That's my opinion. I think you're great at it. Kind of one thing we completely spaced over after talking about the broken thumb thing, but you met Rodgers at the thing, and as I'm looking at all your memorabilia, we forgot to talk about what you had him sign at the Make-A-Wish thing.
Yes.
And I don't want to forget this because this is one of the coolest things I've seen Rodgers sign. So you go to Make-A-Wish. Do they tell you can bring stuff to get signed, or what's that conversation?
Yeah, I think it was like a 3-item limit. Okay. I believe it was, but they didn't enforce that. Like I brought like multiple 8x10s. I brought a jersey. Like
It's probably
I
another
don't think
big
they
B
cared.
rule of like
Probably.
3 items only.
Yeah, I probably ruined that for every Make-A-Wish kid. But yeah, so I bought a jersey for him to sign, but I used a black Sharpie on the away jersey, so the description on it doesn't really show up anymore, and I'm super depressed about
That is
that.
bummed.
Like,
Yeah.
but like you really like you would have to like hold it like up here to like read it. Like I
Get
can't
that.
have it like on my wall because
Sure.
it's just like a jersey. And then I had two 8x10s of him signed. I had one from his record breaking his touchdown record versus the Browns on Christmas. I had him sign a picture of that because I was also there for that game.
That's a great one.
And then I had him sign a photo of his COVID toe when he popped his toe up on the camera on the Zoom call. I had him sign it, and I had a little tour with Wes that night. He took us around and showed me like the press box, got me on the field, and showed me everything there. And he's like, I love how you didn't like cut out like the Zoom like name or like the recording button in the corner of it. Like he loved that part of it. So I think that adds to it too. So, but yeah, the reason I did that was for him to, remember me. Remember me. But clearly, that's not the only thing he, is gonna remember me for.
Yeah,
So
no kid. He'll always remember you on that.
yeah.
What was his reaction when you're like pulling this out of, because I think you had a video of it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I do have a video. My mom took a video of him.
So you have this like folder of 8x10s, and you just slide this one out. What does he say when he sees this?
I don't even remember what he said.
You don't remember like his reaction at all, or
no? I would have to look at the video. That's
yeah,
I
saw
thankfully I have that video to like. But yeah, if you can play it like right now. First is this picture.
Yeah. And my finest moments.
Yeah, and if it's not too big of a deal, can you put COVID toe as an description on there?
I'll put COVID toe in the description.
All right, cool. If you want, and then that's what he said. So yeah, it's great.
Now I gotta edit and
sorry.
No, you're good. I'll have to figure out if I can steal it from Twitter. I don't have Twitter Plus
for sure.
So yeah, that'd be greatly appreciated because then I can look like I know how to edit here. But he wrote like an inscription of see no COVID toe or something like that.
Yeah, I had I told him to put it like the COVID toe inscription. He was like, yeah, I'll write something. And he put C ? No COVID toe. Fantastic.
That I'm not even like being over the top when I say that has to be one of the coolest items. Just like the most unique items. It's kind of a one out of. It has to be a one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody else has that in the world.
If you're not a Make-A-Wish kid, I don't know if he does that. I don't know if he signs that. So that is beyond cool. Now, as we're looking at your background, it's full of Packer stuff, which is phenomenal. Yeah. Is that your favorite item you have? Because is that a game ball from that weekend too that they honored you?
Yep, they gave me a game ball. They gave me like a whole backpack full of stuff too. By the way, they gave me like a bunch of stuff, but that was also in there. And it has game ball presented to my legal name, then wishing you the best on it with the date. So that's really cool.
That is really cool.
So yeah, that's probably up there too. That's one of my gonna be my something I'm gonna have forever, of course.
For sure.
And then over here is the a vintage Jerry Kramer replica helmet, and it had of course autographed, and then it's also the Packers sweep on there that he drew out.
That has to be that's a phenomenal piece as well. And is that a bunch of booze?
Maybe.
How are you getting a bunch of random booze? Just as
I would say, yeah.
I mean,
so
it's all memorabilia, so it's not like you're drinking it. But
you just
asking your mom to buy you like random vodka, or do you got connections?
Yeah, my mom has bought me
from a legal perspective. Your mom bought it, so
yeah, my mom My mom clutched up and bought me alcohol. I think that was like the first time she's actually bought an alcohol was
That's
for me.
that's awesome.
Surprisingly.
I
Yeah,
mean,
so yeah,
that's legal. I think
I think so. I don't know, but yeah,
I mean, it's your mom's vodka, so it's not yours either way.
basically, yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, I'm not
but
drinking none of it. I got some whiskey down there too. I got like some beer cans over here too.
of the okay, yep, I see the
Leaping Lemonade. We got Carry the G can.
oh yep, there's Carry the G. That's what I was looking for. And then
Yep.
the brewski.
Not an ad, but
Yeah,
buy Carry the G.
dude. Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
That's super awesome.
This is one of the newer ones that I've gotten. Has Jordan Love on it.
Oh dang, where'd you get that one?
Well, I don't know if I can tell, but one of my friends works
Okay,
for a brewery, and he
no, that's cool. Is
so
that going to be out in the area though?
I
Like,
believe so. I don't think it's out yet, but
okay,
yeah.
dude, look at this Big
So
B's dropping exclusives.
I know.
That's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, all he said was just block out the company name. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm doing right now. But yeah, this should be out soon, I believe.
Hashtag not an ad.
Not an ad also.
Dude, that's really awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not looking to get anyone in trouble. Just I think that's really cool. And you kind of remind me of a younger me where I would just buy so much random anything that had Packers on it. I just buy it. And I still have like a bunch of random stupid stuff.
I mean, we got like the Piggly Wiggly like mascot in a cheese head and stuffed animal.
Dude, I love that.
So I mean,
Just
yeah, I buy
random everything.
a bunch of stupid stuff that just has a G on it. So
that's awesome. I don't want to keep you too long here. So I'm gonna let's get through these hot questions. I appreciate once again, I really appreciate you meeting a second time to talk. I do think it was good though, because I feel like I was kind of rusty. You said you were a little rusty, so I think it was all for the better. But I'm gonna try to. I don't necessarily remember your answers on these, but I'm gonna try to expand on them if so.
Okay.
But if you could sit down and have a conversation, any player or person associated with the Green Bay Packers, alive or dead, excluding Vince Lombardi, who would you choose and why?
Okay, I think I said Reggie White, and I'm sticking to it. Reggie White is probably my favorite Packer of all time. I would love to just, sit down, like talk about the game of football. I would love to dive into like his, I don't know how to say it, like religion, I guess. Dive into like religion because he was like a big Christian. So I'd love to like talk to him about that and just everything. And yeah, he's just amazing human being, and he's Reggie White. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like it's Reggie White. I mean,
yeah. Talk about how the Packers took him to Red Lobster during his free agency trip. Dude, I love that answer. The next one, if you could watch any game again for the first time, having the same emotions or feelings as you did the first time you watched it, which game would you choose and why?
Okay. I think the most hype I've been during a Packers game, it's probably tied between two. But first one is the Rasul Douglas game-winning interception versus Arizona. I went apeshit during when he caught that interception.
Yeah,
that was probably a highlight of my Packers fandom so far. And then the Cowboys game, the playoff game last year, or the year before, I guess the year before now.
Yeah, whatever.
Anyway,
yeah,
that Darnell Savage pick six literally transcended me into another dimension. Like I'm not even kidding. Like
dude, that just felt like a game that the Packers couldn't do anything wrong in.
Literally.
And I think for the Rasul one, that pendulum swing, because were the Packers up by 3 at that point? And and then you're like, okay, they're gonna kick a field goal at least to go into overtime, but they have so much time left that they're gonna just let the Cardinals are gonna score a touchdown here, and then Rasul just does Rasul things.
Yeah.
So
I think they're 7-1 in that at 7-1 or under like 7-0 at that point.
That's right. That's the other side of that as well, is that they were red hot. I think the Packers broke Kyler at that point because everything seemed to go downhill. Man, I really hope we get to experience another fun game like that Dallas game though. This coming up season, hopefully in the playoffs.
Hopefully.
We haven't had the announcement yet, but do you think the Packers play in Dublin this year? I know that's the rumor mill right now.
I really think so. I think that's definitely going to happen. I saw,
Packers
earlier.
Steelers in Dublin.
Yeah, I saw earlier today. It's probably going to be week 3, and we're going to have a week 4 bye, which I'm not super pumped
Whew.
about.
Yeah,
Which is going to be a brutal stretch from week 5 to the end of the season.
that is a long stretch.
So that's the one downfall to it, but I think the atmosphere is just going to be incredible. Like, Packers, Steelers, like Ireland, like can't get much better than that, literally.
And I do have to ask, now that things have kind of transpired from our first time, where do you think Rodgers is going to end up going, or do you think he'll retire?
He's definitely going to play. I think this upcoming season. I don't see him retiring. I think he would have already retired.
That's true. Yeah.
If he was going to. I could see him going to the Giants, the other New
Okay.
York team. I've seen some rumblings that the Giants are interested or would be interested in him. I think that'd be, it's kind of a smart move because I would assume they would draft a quarterback in the
Yeah.
first. They have the number 1 pick, I think, right? Or is that Titans?
I think the Titans have it, but they have like a top 3 pick.
Yeah,
If I'm
top 3 pick.
Yeah.
Should draft a quarterback there if they get Rodgers regardless. I think that should be the move. Have the rookie sit behind Rodgers and, probably will come in later in the season to replace Rodgers because I'm sure, he's clearly lost a step. But I think would be a smart move for any organization that gets Rodgers.
One that I was thinking about is the Steelers, because right now Russell's going to be a free agent.
Yep.
They could get Rodgers as that kind of guy to be the middleman between their next quarterback. And Mike Tomlin's always been a big Rodgers guy. He's always talked very positively about that, about the Steelers. I don't know if they'd be interested in him at all. But it'd be kind of a similar thing of the Russell Wilson, because the Jets are going to be paying him like a large part of his contract, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe so.
I could be misunderstanding how that contract situation ties out, but then if they do play the Packers in Dublin, or the Steelers Packers play in Dublin, that'd be another layer of excitement on
that. Would be just insane.
And we'll see if your prediction comes out on that, though. If he goes to New York, it should be interesting. I'm not sure when this is going to air just yet, but I'm sure there'll be some news on some stuff. Back to these hard hitting questions here. If you could attend any game in the history of the Green Bay Packers, excluding a championship, so no Ice Bowl, Super Bowls, or anything like that, which game are you choosing?
Probably the 2014 game versus the Patriots at Lambeau. Yeah, prime Brady, prime Rodgers, going head to head. That's my favorite game to like rewatch. I think that game is just a good, just a fun rewatch.
That is
in
a
general.
great one.
But yeah, the prime Rodgers, prime Brady going at it. The Lambeau Field looks incredible too. The grass looks sensational. That's I don't know. That's like the best like the grass has looked on Lambeau, in my opinion, was that like 2014 late stretch that we had there. I don't know. Maybe that's just the me thing, but I don't know. But anyway.
This is why you need to bring the podcast back, man.
Yeah.
You are paying attention to details that I don't even think I was paying attention to. So this is why Big B needs to be back on the airwaves, man.
Yeah, I mean, something about that field, the grass in 2014, it just hits different, It's super nostalgic. Like I drive for that like look every single season, and I just haven't gotten it yet.
Are we sure you're not like a mid-30s dad? Dude, you're just like all about the lawn. You're just like, man, that's a nice yard.
Yeah,
that's hilarious. But I couldn't agree more. That'd be a phenomenal game to attend. And I mean, when I reflect on the 2014 season, that's one that comes to my mind right away, is that game and how everything went in that game. There's a lot of memorable moments, and it was just a battle down to the end. So that's a great one. If you were to become I know the Packers don't have an owner, but if you were to you wake up tomorrow and you have all the authority over the Green Bay Packers, you could do anything you want, like you were an owner of the Green Bay Packers. What are you doing and why? What's the first thing you're doing?
Yeah, so I said this last time, and it was an amazing poll. But I'm gonna, allow people to record at Packers training camp, because I think that's absolutely ridiculous that you can't. It's such a me answer. But it's true. Like I literally don't understand why, people can't record. Chiefs, live stream their training camp practices on YouTube, and they're doing perfectly fine in
Yeah,
my opinion.
they've
I
had
don't
a
think
little
that's
success.
yeah, like clearly the competitive advantage is not hitting them at all, like Green Bay thinks it would for them. But that's
Well,
definitely my first action that I would do.
I think that's a man of the people answer, and I like that.
Mhm.
I do think the Packers kind of shoot themselves in the foot a little bit by being so do not record, because then people will inevitably record something.
Yeah,
And
like
then
you're
when they
just asking
post it
people
on
to record.
yeah, and then when they post it online, it goes extra viral
Mhm.
because people are like, "Oh, we shouldn't have this, so we're gonna just share it."
Yeah.
Uh, and if it weren't so taboo, I don't think people would care the same way. But
Mhm.
because they make it such a strict policy, it, does security know who you are at this point? Like, do they come up to you while you're there? Like, hey, don't be recording.
Well, I'm
I mean,
pretty sure
it seems like they're out to get you there.
they do. I mean, I was pretty good this past training camp. Like I really wasn't like filming, but the first day I was there, one of the guys, one of the red apron or the red
The
jacket guys,
vests, yeah.
that's red vests, came over to me, tapped me on the shoulder, and he was like, "You aren't recording, right?" And I was like, "No. Like, why would I be?" And he's like, "All right, keep it that way." And then he walked away, and I'm like, "What did I do? Why am I getting picked on? Like, I haven't
just,
done nothing
just,
so far. I literally just
just
sat
you,
down."
dude. You joked earlier that Gutekunst has your picture in his office, and that
Yeah,
might be the case.
I legit think like they have a meeting before like the season, like or like training camp season, and they show like a picture of like people's faces and say, "Be on the lookout for them and keep an extra eye on it." I'm sure I'm there. I'm sure my guy Wyatt G is on there also.
Dude, Wyatt, yeah, he
Oh my
probably
god,
is.
Wyatt was insane that a couple years ago when he snuck onto the sideline for that training camp practice. That was so
Oh,
funny.
I did
Oh
not
my,
hear that
he is
story.
psycho.
Dude gets some good content though. I mean, he does a lot of like
I know.
really cool content online. So maybe I have to reach out to him sometime, see if I can get to pick his brain on this.
Yeah,
But
that'd be a good
I think
episode.
I think that's a good. Any other rules you'd implement
Hmm.
outside of that? Anything that comes to mind? Since we talked about that last time too, it is a great
Yeah.
poll.
hmm I think that's it. I mean, I really don't have any other problems with the Packers other than that one. So I think that's
That's fair.
probably the only one I have.
That's fair. Now, where can people find you online? Because you are a great person to follow on any social media.
Yeah. So Twitter is Big Packers 4 times. Kind of not tweeting as much as I used to, but we're still out there. We're still tweeting as much as I can.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Instagram, I'm still going strong, trying to post every little bit of news I possibly can. Big underscore Packers, believe it is.
Awesome.
Follow me on there. That's I'm pretty proud of my page on there.
That is the one and only Big B. A huge thank you to Big B for taking the time to sit down and share his story. I know I got to listen to it a couple different times now with our technical issues that we had, but honestly, it's such a good story. I wouldn't mind listening to it again. I'm so glad you had the opportunity to listen to it as well. A huge thank you once again to Big B. I also want to say thank you to Nicolay Law for sponsoring the show all season long. If you are injured, get Nicolay. If you want to be on an episode of Tales from the Tundra, check out the show notes or the comments below on the form on how to apply to come on the show. Once again, my name is Ben. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch, listen, and all the support you give. You guys are all incredible, and I appreciate you immensely. Until next time, thank you once again, and go Pack Go.